Generally, when we facilitate teams and people, we need to deal with a crisis. And there's a few pointers there, recognize it as early as possible. Don't go into denial. It's there, it's real. Deal with it. Take control, step in, think solution, act fast. Avoid analysis paralysis. In other words, don't try to overanalyze everything. Sometimes you have to do that. Focus on what you can do. Create momentum. That's how we run a business. We create momentum. Provide support and find support. It's a collective approach that you want. You can over-communicate. Make sure that whatever you communicate is positive. Avoid blame. Give praise. Show empathy. So these are the underlying things that sometimes drives a potential crisis, or let's call it a conflict. But when it comes to dealing with a conflict, there's again a very simple process, no different from problem solving, yet it is different. In problem solving, the process is more clinical, it's more objective, it's more me moving from the problem statement to the root cause, to getting the ideas out, make a decision, move on. But when it comes to conflict between people or different groups of people, you need to understand your role now changes or shifts, and that is to facilitate the emotions of people, to facilitate the importance of the flow of information, to facilitate the fact that there's a lack of trust maybe, and you want to regain the trust in that relationships. So it becomes a little bit more complicated and difficult. But again, go with your process and never doubt your process. De Bono and others use different color techniques, the 6-hat theory. I once used the different color ball theory. You know what? These are just nice methods to mind map almost your process so that you don't lose track of your process as the lifesaver. So again, let me follow a simple process. You can follow it on PowerPoint if you want to. When I pick up the blue ball in my hand, I give it a name. I say this is my facilitator's ball, and what I do with that ball in my hand, and I keep on doing it as long as I have the ball, is to define the problem, confirm that the conflict exists, and make sure that everybody agree that we want to achieve a particular goal here in trying to resolve it. What is it? That's my job as facilitator, to make that clear. Then I'll jump into a next color, orange, and I'll say, let's share information. What do we know about this potential conflict? Whether it's hearsay or facts, it doesn't matter. We want to share everything we know. Thirdly, and very important, early in your process, you want to give feedback on where you can give positive affirmation of contributions made or intentions. You want to thank people for their objectiveness. You want to thank them for their openness and their honesty. And the more you do of that, the easier they would find to trust you with the process. Then you want to jump into, let's say, the purple color. And purple says, but hang on, what will be the consequences? What will be the impact if we don't do anything here, if we just leave it, if we just allow it to hang in the air? And sometimes when people understand, the negative impact of these consequences, then they find it easy to actually commit towards a possible solution. Once that is clear, you've got a mandate to now play with options of resolving it or alternatives in solving it. Let's call it the green color. So in green, all possible suggestions on how to resolve this, how to get out of this, and try to keep it positive. Try not to criticize. Try to not shoot ideas off. Generate as many as possible ideas on how to resolve this conflict. And then, very important, jump into the red color, where you allow people to express a little bit of their feelings. In other words, they've lost their trust sometimes. They've lost their trust in in the business or your ability to facilitate or in people. And you want to regain that trust. So red is bringing them in touch with their feelings. In other words, how do you feel? Do you think this can work? Do you think this can actually give us what we want? And if that response is more and more positive, then you've made serious progress. Then go back to yellow again and say, hey, guys and girls, thank you. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for everything that you've shared with us. Then go back to blue and say, okay, I'm the facilitator. Let me wrap it up for us. Clearly, we want to resolve this. Clearly, we've got some good ideas on how to do this, maybe 2 avenues. And here's the roadmap for each one of those. Who's going to be responsible for one? And how are we going to, meet again or set up a next conversation to confirm progress and actually close the loop in terms of us achieving something different from what we had in the past. So that's all part of the process. Just a few pointers again. Try to recognize conflict, that it exists. Don't run away from it all the time. You can't. Try and identify the real conflict. Like in problem solving, what is at the root of it? Sometimes we perceive the real conflict on a more interpersonal level, what happens between us. Those are symptoms. If you go a little bit deeper, it becomes more intrapersonal. It's something on the inside of me, how I think as an individual, how I believe and what I believe. And you have to make that distinction and drill into it deeper. Listen actively. That's your job as a facilitator for conflict. In other words, as you progress, listening, summarize. Summarize the disagreement. Summarize the agreement. Focus on the issue, not the personalities. Confirm accuracy. Did I hear you correctly? Is this what you are saying? In other words, clarify for everybody's understanding. And do it in a respectful manner. Try to generate going forward that shared vision of what we want getting out of this, and what will it look like if it actually works and or it is different. What will be your criteria for success? How will you know that you are actually successful? And then very important, how will you review the progress going forward in terms of feedback? And know that you actually did advance going forward. On a more personal level, one of the things that I sometimes do is when a team is stuck or people are stuck in conflict, I get them to take an emotional break. And by that I mean is time out. Let's go outside, let's have a cup of tea, and then we come back and we start the conversation again. Sometimes people try to resolve a conflict, but without proper facilitation. Then your job as gatekeeper is to say, whoa, time out. Let's get somebody to facilitate this. And we follow a particular process. That's the lifesaver. You want to do that. It's all about openness and honesty, or the values in the group or the team. Important is to be as objective. In other words, try to avoid speculation and rumors and assumptions. Whenever you perceive it to be one of those, some speculation or rumor or assumption, try to bring the clarity. That's your job as facilitator, is to ask the right questions to get the factual information out so that we can move forward. Whatever you do, try to do it constructively and not destructively. Don't fall into the trap of where other people, is as they try to resolve a controversial issue and almost go to their level of conversation. Don't do that. Put the emphasis on the positives, on what you want. What will it look like if it's actually different and it works? So in short, I want to believe that one of our core processes that we need to be good at in facilitation is that of conflict, or how do we resolve an issue or a crisis between people. Again, it's process, but be very much aware of the relevant information, of the emotion that comes with it and that's already there. And then very important, you want the group or the team that's taking part in the conversation to feel safe, and you become the master guide that help them to get into a more safer space in resolving the conflict.